Good morning, Sarah, shamanic guide and healer, way shower. I thought I'd talk to you today about the significance of our physical illnesses, ailments on our emotional, spiritual, psychological bodies, and how that actually works. So for the last few days I've been suffering with really bad toothache. Got an infection in a broken tooth, and whilst I was resting and trying not to chew anything or drink any hot drinks or anything until I could get to the dentist to get some antibiotics, it got me thinking, as it always does, with my aches and pains, what significance my teeth, what they're showing up for me, what is it that they're showing me. And teeth are really aligned to power and control, so this chewing through of things. They also represent fear and anxiety, and our self-worth, our sort of self-confidence, if you like, which in spiritual terms translates into communication blockages, sometimes unprocessed emotions, and they're all connected to our root foundations, so our base chakra, it's our security and how we feel about our sort of base foundations. They're also connected to our throat chakra, which is talks about our communication, and blocked expression, if you like, not speaking our truth. Also spiritual disharmony, so misalignment with our spiritual path and what we're actually walking at the moment. So it's quite a complex situation. It also can in spiritual terms be related to the mother wounds and not being able to speak our truth and not being allowed to be who we are, communication problems, also ancestral wounds, which is a really interesting thing as far as I'm concerned, because I've done a lot of ancestral healing, and it's all actually connected to fear of a belief that people see you or think badly of you if you show your true self. And that can come out in many ways. Maybe our ancestors were, my ancestors were persecuted for speaking their truth, or not being able to live the life that they wanted to live. Things like witch wounds as well, that all comes into it. As a woman, centuries ago, you weren't allowed to speak your truth, really. And that all comes back to, well, as a shamanic guide and healer, how would I work with that in a healing situation? So it feels to me like it's a power loss as far as I'm concerned. I have had, over the last couple of years, I've been caring for my mum who has dementia, and it's been probably the most difficult journey of my life. Mum and I historically have not always seen eye to eye. She's was always quite a controlling woman as I was a young child, and I felt very not unseen but unheard. I wasn't allowed to speak my truth. I was always being reprimanded for not doing what I was told. That continues into adult life as well. So I've been caring for Mum, and it's been a real battle of wills. She, in her fragile dementia world, is still trying to hold on to control, and that comes out in her as anger and sometimes spitefulness and all those other horrible traits that tend to show themselves in dementia patients. And for me, that's been very triggering, because when you're confronted with old, deep wounds that had kind of got forgotten about or dragged up again, to get really personal, she whenever I'm taking the dog out for a walk, and I'm saying, Mum, I'm just going out for half an hour to take the dog out for a walk. She then accuses of me of going to the pub. Now, I haven't set foot in a pub actually for about a very long time. For sort of recreational, youth drinking sessions, and she used to accuse me of doing that whenever I went out as a teenager. That I was just going down to the pub to get drunk, which was a complete lie. Wasn't true at all. And so these kind of wounds, she triggers, that they haven't been healed. I'm not being heard, that she's not hearing my truth. I am going for a dog walk. I'm not going to the pub to get drunk. And it's very, very triggering. And I have found, that's just one situation, one example. But there's lots like that where, in the state she is, that she drags up these triggers that, really I thought stuff had healed, but oh my goodness, no. It's really, really hard. And I think, over the last 2 years, she's worn me down. There's no, dementia is a terribly sad disease, because the patient really doesn't understand the hurt that they're causing, and has no appreciation for the fact that I've pretty well put my life on hold. I had to let my business go. I had my partner is still in Malta, and I've had to arrange my life around her, and I really don't get out to see friends or anything at the moment. Anyway, that's by the by. That's all going to change. But the point I'm getting to about this kind of these wounds, these deep wounds, are showing up now in my teeth, and it's extremely painful, and it's a lesson for me to really sit down and just look at what that's all about. And actually tonsillitis, which I had very badly as a teenager, and glandular fever, are all based around that same wound, that same mother wound, that same ancestral wound of not being able to speak my truth, of not being able to be who I want to be, and not be controlled, and as I said, even as an adult, I've carried that through, is that no way is anybody going to tell me what to do anymore, whether it's having, the medical interventions over the last couple of years or anything, that, I will not allow anybody to dictate to me how I live my life. So it's a case of boundary setting, and I wasn't able to do that as a child. I wasn't able to I had to comply. So it's a very interesting process, shamanic healing, when you sit down and you analyse exactly what your ailments are associated with, and how you then go back to peeling off the layers to face those hurtful times, maybe. And I would, my first port of call would be, in my situation, is to do a power retrieval, to go on a shamanic journey and connect with my power animal. I mean, I already have my own power animals, so I just need to go in and connect with them and ask for some help and some guidance and some strength, and to bring back some power into my life in whatever way that a particular animal can guide me. So if you came to me with a similar situation, I would, do a power animal retrieval and find the animal which you may or may not be aware of, but and some animals come in for a short period of time to help you with a specific situation, or it could be a lifelong power animal that comes in to help. So it's not necessarily what you think it is. I mean, it could be, for example, a butterfly, which is all about transformation and metamorphosis and actually changing the way you think about things. And maybe in my situation, I need to just be aware of what it was that caused those initial wounds, and to then go into a caterpillar soup and to emerge a transformed creature. So it's all really fascinating stuff. It does, this healing doesn't work overnight necessarily, but it can do too. But it's all about just being aware of what your triggers are and where they show up physically in your body. I would also possibly, if someone came to me with an ailment, is to do a soul retrieval. So, in my case, I've already done this. I went into a journey and found that small child that had been told off, that was just so angry. I mean, I can't even describe. It was a very powerful journey where I went and I confronted my soul essence as this small child in my bedroom, who was so filled with rage that she couldn't express, because a small child being told off had, I can't even remember. I think it was something to do with I'd been accused of hitting my brother, which I hadn't done, but my brother was just playing up and being naughty, and told Mum that I had hit him, which I hadn't done. So I was severely reprimanded, and I was so filled with anger that I couldn't do anything about it, that I went into a very, very dark place. And on my journey back to find this soul essence of mine, I had to go through that very dark, murderous and quite violently murderous episode that I had created in my small head, and that in turn that essence of anger had been held in my body as a protection against being spoken to like that again, or whatever. So that, and as I grew older, so that sort of unresolved anger would pop up every now and again when somebody, not necessarily Mum, but anybody who triggered or stepped over my back, I felt were my boundaries, would trigger that quite vicious anger sometimes. Anyway, that that has been resolved, thank goodness. But to get back to my teeth, that's what I do. So I'd possibly do a soul retrieval as well to see where it all started, and whether that small disassociated soul essence can be brought back into the body. So power animal retrieval and a soul retrieval is, really good places to start for this kind of work. Anyway, I hope that clears things up for you, or just sort of shines a light on something. If you'd like to work with me, I I mean, I certainly welcome in-person clients, but I also work remotely, which is really powerful. I mean, in a way, it's less distracting because I can really concentrate on my work, and the client is in a situation where they feel relaxed and they don't have to do anything really. You just relax in your own home, and I work in my sacred space here. Anyway, if that's something you think might be useful, please get in touch. My website details are in the description box. See you again soon. Ciao.